Good evening. I would like to address the Federated Republics of A1 this evening. Um, I have rather skimmed through the statement condemning this government's actions concerning our intervention in the Zealandian state. It is correct that this government has acknowledged that it sent someone undercover into Zealandia. However, it must be acknowledged that this government sent said person in under the invitation of several members of the Zealandian parliament, as well as several Zealandian citizens. In that course of action, we were asked to advise certain legislators, seeing that the current state of emergency in Zealandia was one which favored Mr. Bayer, and as so put, uh, his repression in the state. It must be noted that Mr. Puglisi is not only a premier of Tiana, but is as well a citizen of Zealandia. This government was invited by him to intervene in Zealandia in order to advise them. This government, which saw the repression under the vote of no confidence for Mr. Bukovsky, this government asked Mr. Bukovsky if he would advise and accept our willingness to intervene in the state, and at that time in our affairs, primarily. Mr. Bukovsky agreed, to which we did withdraw our recognition of the government of Zealandia, um, upon which Mr. van der Hoeven, I believe, I hope I am saying that correctly, but Bradley van der Hoeven asked this government, along with Joseph Puglisi, they both asked this government to join Zealandia again. However, we understood that that could not be the case, that we could not rejoin Zealandia for two primary reasons. First of them being it would never be accepted. My citizenship in Zealandia would never be accepted. Second of all, this government does not recognize the government of Zealandia. It is in that course that I, and myself personally, not these two individuals, that I decided as the Sôgmô to go undercover into Zealandia in order to gain as much accurate information as possible. In the course of doing so, I under I, I understood and I found that Mr. Bayer was prepared to do anything and any means necessary in order to grow his and cultivate his repression over the Zealandian people. It was in this course of action that I decided that I should focus on this more and I should become more accustomed to this. It was under that I decided to create this false persona, this false alias, and I did indeed go undercover. This government has never said that it never went undercover. But the fact remains that we were asked by legislatures of Zealandia herself to intervene in the state of Zealandia. That we could not deny because we understood how repressive this government was. We decided to intervene just as many other nations should have intervened in the internal affairs of several other states. In the 1990s, in Rwanda, the United Nations failed to intervene in a correct time span. Millions of people died. Now, of course, this is a gross overreaction to the current situation. But the same situation applies to this situation as well. If we were to hold off, who would have known what Zealandia would have come? What would happen? We understood exactly that since Mr. Bayer was able and willing to vote a vote of no confidence for Mr. Bukowski at a time when he was not available to respond to any criticisms of his office or of his government, that it was indeed very belittling and very lacking of a standing of law in this state. This government recognized that, and that is why we decided that we would intervene in Zealandia when we were so asked by two Zealandian citizens, and several others have been accustomed and have known of this existence of this alias since such a period. This government is going to continue to hope that things in Zealandia return to normalcy. We believe that we have a right to give counsel and give advice to those people whom ask it. We have done so. It is a policy of the state to offer any need and any advice to any state which so prohibits certain unalienable rights. That which Zealandia does under this current government. This government is prepared to defend these choices that we have made because we believe that this policy is necessary to us. If we would not have this policy, I assure you that the current state of Sandus would not be as compassionate towards the affairs of other states, that we would not care and we would not intervene as much, which is something that I'm sure some of you would hope for. But in other cases, that not only limits our power, but it also limits our ability to maintain calm and to maintain normal in this community. We believe that we have a right. It is in our sovereignty and our right to intervene in affairs that matter to us, that matter to our foreign affairs. And whilst it may be rather a complicated route to say that we have the right to espionage, all states have that right, and whilst it may be frowned upon, we did so in order to give advice to those who asked it of us. And to that regard, I have no redemptions. I'm fully capable of understanding the exact actions which I took, and I have fully comprehended the right of any state to condemn this state's action. However, when such a state does not even ask our government about what has happened or anything, no government official, no diplomat from the Federated Republics of A1 ever communicated to this government. They have not. They still have not. And it seems apparent to this government that they do not understand the current happenings in this event and in this situation. Specifically because it seems that in A1's condemnation of this state, they say that Mr. Puglisi has been working with us. Mr. Puglisi is his own person. He is in no way affiliated, besides being a citizen of Sandus, with the government of Sandus. He is a citizen of Sandus, of Zealandia, and Tiana. And as far as I'm concerned, he is the government, the governing person of Tiana. It is within his right to do whatever he so pleases. And he asked it of me, personally, to intervene in these affairs. To that, I do not see what the issue is. It was his personal request, to which this government honored, as it honors all petitions to this government made by any citizen or any foreign person. This government honors petitions. It is within our founding law. Thank you, and good evening.